Okay, so I'm having you watch this video because we're just going to go over a little bit of work that you guys have already done. Because tomorrow we're just going to have a little quiz on identifying theme. It'll come in the form of looking at poetry, which we've done and gone over a little bit too. But I just want to make sure we're clear on how to do theme because that's consistent across the board, whether you're looking at poetry or a novel or a short story or whatever. Finding and identifying theme, you're kind of continuing with the same process. So, Brooke, I hope you don't mind that I'm using your work. I picked Brooks just because I really liked how she did her annotations. Brooke really annotates with a purpose that helps her identify theme. Um, so I'm just going to kind of quickly go over each one. I'm not even going to read the whole story. I'm just going to kind of review it. So the first story, you've got Katie Clean and Messy Missy. And essentially, and I mean, I can pretty much just read Brooks' annotations here to sum up on the story. Katie invites Messy over to work on a project. Messy Missy is very impolite. She makes a lot of messes. She doesn't take her shoes off. She gets Cheeto dust all over the bed. I think Brooks right in saying that she's very rude. And then eventually, after Katie asks to get a new partner, and Messy Missy has to do all the work herself. She doesn't. She's not able to finish the assignment because she spills grape soda all over it. So that leaves us with the question: what's the theme of the story, and how do we know what happens that leads us to believe this? And I think Brooke is on to something when it says to respect other people's property. Um, whether it's your friends, yours, or strangers. I think that's definitely part of it. Messy Missy is definitely disrespectful and doesn't take Katie's feelings into account during the story. I think I might change that answer slightly though. So Brooke put here that Missy's assignment gets ruined. It's karma for her not being nice. You could definitely read it like this. I would say that maybe the thing we've seen over and over is that Messy Missy is messy, and that her messiness keeps messing things up for her. We see it time and time again. She goes over to Katie's house. She's messy and gets her dirt all over the floor. She's messy and gets Cheeto dust all over the bed, and that's why Katie doesn't want to be her partner because she's messy. And then what causes her to not be able to? So not only does she not have a partner, what causes her to not be able to finish the assignment is she's messy and spills her soda. So I might say, really to the theme, I think you're right, and that's the thing about theme is it can there can be multiple themes. I think this might be kind of a smaller theme in the story, but I would say the big theme would be that Messy Missy's messiness, or really to be specific here, or to be more general here, because remember, theme is kind of the lesson that we all take away is not to be messy because messiness messes stuff up for you, however you wanted to say that. But remember, when we're doing this, theme is the idea that we can all take away. It's the moral of the story. So I think the moral of the story here would be to not be messy. And then what led us to believe this? That's what I was just saying. All the examples of her being messy that mess things up for her. All right, number 2, Money Mark. Money Mark, and again, I can just look right through Brooks' annotations and kind of get the whole story. He's rich. He doesn't have to worry about money or work. However, his family doesn't seem to be around. He still has, everything that he wants, but he doesn't really appreciate it. It's empty. He gets all this stuff, but it's not really meaningful. And then you oppose that with Penny, who is, not nearly as rich. She's in fact born poor. But in spite of that, she definitely appreciates what she has. And we can see, I think, that Penny's family seems to care about her a little bit more. Her father walks with her around the United Center before the Bulls play with the Celtics, so her family is involved in her life. So when it comes to picking out the themes, I think there are a couple of things you could do. I think Brooke is totally right with putting that money can't buy you happiness because we see that it doesn't for Mark. Penny is happy despite not having happiness. I think you could maybe add on to that at the end. What does bring happiness to Penny. It seems to be having, a close relationship with her family and being appreciative of other things, appreciative of what she does have that makes her happy. Whereas Mark has no family, doesn't find any happiness. So if you had something about, family or close relationships bringing you happiness as opposed to money, that would be fine. But I think she says money can't buy you happiness. That's definitely a moral that we can all take away from the story. And she definitely backs it up with evidence, because Money Mark is rich, but he never uses his advantage to help people or uses it for people that are close to him. And Penny, although she's born poor, she has these close relationships. She appreciates what she has. So, yeah, I think that's a totally fine answer there that you have evidence for. And here in the third story, we've got Tammy and Sammy, who are both students in Mr. Morton's reading class. And again, I can just look at Brooke's annotations and I can just find the whole story. I think that's really the advantage of doing this, is you're able to look back through things quickly. And you might not think it's necessary for something short like this, and I get that, but especially when we go to longer things, that it's harder to suss out the theme when you're having to look back through everything that you've read. I think these annotations are really helpful. So you can see if you look through these that she's talking about Tammy gets her work done. Sammy seems to not care as much about doing that. As a result, Sammy gets grounded and loses lots of sleep because he can't do his work on time. And Tammy gets to relax and enjoy herself because she did do her work on time. And that's essentially the story. So let's see what Brooke thinks the theme was. Okay, so she says, work hard and accomplish what you can, but don't procrastinate because you always have to make it back up. Yeah, I think that's perfect, especially the don't procrastinate part, because what do we see happening when you procrastinate? The kid that procrastinates gets punished and is, really sleepy and tired because he can't, because he's having to rush to get all this stuff made up, and he makes a worse grade as a result. So I definitely think that would be it. And that's what she puts down here. He procrastinates. He waits till the last minute. He can't go to the amusement park. So we have evidence to back that up. So just remember here that theme, we're talking about morals. We're talking about what is trying to be taught to us here. And to kind of reiterate that, I wanted to look back to our parlay ideas. So I'll skip the last two. If you have questions about those, though, feel free to ask me. I just thought 3 kind of did the job of going over that. So, and I get this is from, 2 weeks ago. So you guys some of you may have been slightly confused then, but get it now. But even so, I want to show you 2 examples. So one would be an example, and I'm not using people's names here, where I think the person got it right. They said that Mulan was one of their favorite movies. And then the theme would be that girls can do what boys do. Again, look at how they made this general. This is a lesson that can apply to everyone. We can all learn that girls are capable of doing what boys are doing. She maybe could have even made it more general, and said that, anyone is capable of anything as long as they work hard enough or something like that. But I think she's dead on with the theme of that movie. And then the way she explains it works really well. This is the lesson because in the movie, boys are supposed to be sent off to war. Girls aren't allowed to be at all. But in the end, everyone sees that Mulan can do it, and they're really surprised. It is jarring to them because that's something that they're not used to. So it really hammers that lesson home. Thought a lot of you did that really well. I just picked someone that had an example that I was familiar with. Now, I want to show you an example that kind of gets close and does a really good job of talking about the piece of media that they used, but didn't exactly hit the theme. And I mean, there's nothing necessarily, I'm not saying that this person did a bad job necessarily. It's just that we missed the thing that separates theme from subject. So this person wrote about Harry Potter and about how death and loss is the theme in Harry Potter. And I definitely think they're on to something. They have plenty of evidence to back up their point. Harry suffers from losing a lot of people. His mom and dad are both viciously murdered. His godfather gets killed. In his seventh year, there's a huge war, and a lot of other people die. I think this person is dead on, as far as like mentioning a lot of different plot events in the story that seem to show that death is present throughout. The thing that they miss is that there has to be a lesson here that we're learning in theme. When we're talking about theme, and I'm going to go back to the notes. So if we go back to the notes, we can see theme, again, the moral of the story, the message, is the life lesson that we're getting out of this. It's what the author wants us to learn from the story, the idea that applies universally to everyone. So the issue with this is we don't know what the idea is. I think this person's definitely right that death and loss, you're on the right track, but what is it that we learn about death and loss in Harry Potter? Is it something about, is it something you can always overcome, or is it something about how the people that have died still remain connected to you even though they're gone? I've never actually read Harry Potter. I've seen some of the movies. I think that might be part of what the theme is, but that's what this person's missing. They're on the right track in every other aspect. It's just putting the idea to that. What's the thing that you're supposed to take away? There's some other examples here that I won't bother getting into where people just told me why, the movie was their favorite movie, and that wouldn't be touching on it at all. So the thing to take away is theme, what's the idea? What's the big message that the author is trying to tell you? That's what we're talking about with that. And that's going to be the main part of the quiz tomorrow. But so I'm going to give you the rest of the day to kind of maybe look back over notes, look back over some stuff that we've done in preparation for that. But it's not like a huge thing that you'll have to study, a bunch of different articles or anything or notes for. So just go over what you've done. Don't stress too much about it. I think you'll all be able to ace it. All right. So see you then. Bye.